unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen.
Of the who?
Of the heathen.
Say it one more time.
Of the heathen. And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them.
Let me tell you something. If you are a so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man or woman, you are the Lord's chosen people. And you are supposed to come back to the Most High and do what He tells you to do. You siding with other nations does absolutely nothing for black people, for Hispanic people, for Native Indian people. You saw just recently that Joe Biden passed an anti-Asian hate bill for Asians to protect them. But guess what? What did we get? We got a federal holiday for Juneteenth.
Right.
What does that do for black people? How does that equal up to the reparations that we deserve for all the murder, the rape, the enslavement that we have endured for over 400 plus years?
Right.
You mean to tell me that we've had over 44 presidents and you still want to go out here and vote for a so-called white man who, I remind you, referred to black people as roaches crawling at his legs?
Right.
But you mean to tell me that you were so desperate to get Donald Trump out of office that that's what you were going to go for? I mean, for once, we all agreed on something. We all know that Donald Trump was a devil.
Right.
But Joe Biden ain't no better.
Right.
What has he done for black people? Let me ask you that right now. What has Joe Biden and Kamala Harris done for black people?
Right.
Just so you know, that is not a black woman. That is a so-called East Indian woman, and she is not of your people.
Right.
Black people always want to love other nations. You have been taught by your Christian pastor to love everybody but your own people.
Right.
You were taught to show so much love, but to hate your own brother, to hate your own sister. You will go out here and kill another brother in the street, but you'll act so kindly to the white man, to the Asian man, to the East Indian man,
right,
to every other heathen that the Bible speaks of.
Right.
But you don't want to show love to your people?
Right.
When are you going to wake up? 44 presidents later and we still in this captivity.
Right.
You might not feel like it because, you know, we got a couple of millionaires out there. We got a couple of LeBron James. We got a couple of actresses, actors, celebrities, dancers, singers. It seems like black people doing a little good now. When I say black, I want you to know I'm talking about the Hispanic and Native Indian man and woman also, because we are all of one people. But guess what? As a community, we are not doing well. Keep reading. Go to 10 and 3.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 10 and verse 3. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe.
So you see, every single time black people want to be hard-headed, we want to do anything else but come back to the Most High. We want to do what heathens want to do. Right. And guess what? It does nothing for you. The so-called white man is the biggest drug dealer on the planet.
That's right.
But yet we try to come out here and be drug dealers our damn selves. And what do? We destroy our communities.
Right.
We have brothers and sisters that are strung out on drugs right now, on coke, on meth, and that weed that you keep smoking that you want to say that comes from the earth. Well, I'm here to educate you on something. So does cocaine. So does nicotine. All of that comes from the earth also. That's a leaf. Are you telling me that you're going to go out there and smoke cocaine, but you want to go out there and smoke that marijuana to get high, don't you? That's what you want to do with your life. How does smoking weed benefit black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people? It doesn't. Right. All it does is make you lazy and not want to do a damn thing for yourself. You want to sit there and smoke them cigarettes and you're poisoning your lungs and you start to die of throat cancer, of lung cancer. You're not even living long enough to see your grandchildren have children.
Right.
Verse 4. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go.
Everything that we have today that the so-called white man gives us, it seems nice, right? Salakia, can I get Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 7? So I know that nobody wants to talk about it anymore, but we still have black men and women who are dying every single day to the so-called white man wrongfully. I know y'all still remember Dante Wright, who was driving with his girlfriend, and the cops so-called mistook her gun for a taser, even though she's been in the military force in the police force for over 20 years. And you mean to tell me that she didn't have the training to properly apprehend this brother? No. You mean to tell me Rashard Brooks, who fell asleep in his car in Atlanta, Georgia, the police could have easily detained him, but guess what they did? They shot him twice in the back, and he is dead now. What about Ahmaud Arbery, a brother that was murdered last year during COVID, need I remind you, for jogging in a predominantly white neighborhood in the middle of the day, and he was murdered in Glenn County, Georgia, by Gregory McMichael and his son Travis McMichael, who, need I remind you, neither of which were in the police force. One of them was a retiree, which means that he would have had the training to properly apprehend that brother, but he wasn't in the police force anymore. He had no business apprehending that brother. But guess what they did? They shot him, not once, but twice, at point blank range in the middle of the day, and that brother was dead. And this was back in February of 2020. Those so-called white devils were not arrested until May 7th, 2020. So you mean to tell me that all that time went by and this brother was lying dead in the street and nobody wanted to do nothing? You tell me how black people, Hispanic, and Native Indians are treated fairly in this country.
Right. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7 and verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad.
Making a what?
Make a wise man mad.
Yeah, make him glad.
Make a wise man mad.
Make him happy.
Make a wise man mad.
Right.
And a gift destroyeth the heart.
As you can see, if you are a so-called wise man, that oppression make a wise man mad. I know we're still talking about it today. George Floyd, a brother that was wrongfully murdered for a so-called counterfeit $20 bill.
Right.
And you mean to tell me that he was murdered? And what did America do for him? They made a statue in his remembrance.
Right.
What does that do for black people? It does absolutely nothing. If anything, every single time I look at that statue, it reminds me of the wrong that George Floyd had to endure. That brother is dead.
Right. Right.
There should be no statue of him. But the white man gonna give you a bone and you just gonna walk away with it as if it actually does something for black people.
Right.
And I know some of you might want to argue, well, George Floyd was a criminal. He deserved to die. Well, guess what? There was a so-called white man by the name of Brock Turner,
Right.
who had 3 counts of sexual assault. And you want to know what happened to him? He was sentenced to 3 years in the Santa Clarita jail with 3 years probation. But he was let off early. And now he's just a registered sex offender. But he gets to live. He was caught red-handed molesting some woman in an alleyway. But he gets to live. But George Floyd gets to die.
I.S.U.P.K.